that way we can, if you put the questions in there, that'll give me a heads up and I'll make sure that we cover it. I am not planning on pontificating and spreading the word of Warwick. This is more finding out what do people want to know, and I will tell you the guidelines and the rules as I understand them, and then give some hints and techniques and ideas on what it's going to take to get you to member, or to CSP if you're a member and you're looking at to get into CSP. It's all about keeping that in mind. So yeah, it's 1 minute past 6. So I'm just going to wait a little bit longer because a couple other people said that they might be joining us. So just so I know, Sue, give me a bit of a rundown. Whereabouts are you in your speaking career? Tell me a bit about you and your business and your topic.
Okay, so I've been in business 9 years. My business has evolved, but I'm a mindset coach specialising in clearing head trash, helping people identify the unconscious blueprint and making shifts and changes. Okay. So in terms of speaking, I run workshops, webinars. I spoke at a conference in Melbourne last week with unpaid gigs. Excuse me. I use travel metaphors as a way of getting across the message. Okay. Mindset shifting.
And are you an affiliate, a provisional member, a member? Whereabouts are you at?
Provisional.
Sorry?
Provisional.
Provisional.
Member.
Right. Cool. Excellent. Lisa, give me a rundown. Where are you? I know I've done a little bit of emailing. Can you just give us a rundown where you're at in your speaking career?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Warwick. So I'm from Western Australia. I'm a member, and I changed my model so that I could become a member because I was mainly doing one-on-one coaching, and I do a lot of volunteer speaking because that's where I'm at and I like to give. But I'm a certified world-class speaker coach, and my specialty is speaking and mainly storytelling. So I've got a bit of a brand happening where I call myself the story midwife, because I was a midwife for 25 years, and then a life-changing event meant that I had to walk away from that career, which was pretty much the only career that I'd ever known. A virus destroyed my hearing overnight, and I had to pretty much reinvent myself, already aged 40, and learn to hear and speak again with the aid of a cochlear implant. So although I no longer bring babies into the world, I bring new life into the world into the form of stories, and that's hence why I'm called the story midwife. So I teach and train executives, business storytelling, as well as one-on-one speaker coaching, and I do a bit of a blend at the moment. I love the one-on-one stuff, and as an introvert, I'm happy on stage, but what makes me really happy is empowering others to step up and be on stage. But I'm very mindful that if I'm going to be coaching people to do that, then I've got to be seen to be doing that myself.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm doing a blend of coaching, workshops, on-site training, and speaking. And it's very exciting. I'm just breaking the last of the ties to my paid job. So I'm also project manager in the Department of Health, and I've been transitioning for 2 years now. And this is my final week before I actually retire from the public service, because for the last 2 years I've been working 7 days a week.
Yeah, fabulous. That's great. Excellent. Sally, give us a rundown on your good self.
Sally Foley Lewis in the house.
Yo.
Been in business since 2010 when I got off the plane, coming back to Australia because I figured I'd be unemployable, and have morphed the business into productivity with a very fine niching it down to people skills purely for productivity to link it to profit, and currently having a mentor in place to help me ramp up sales, because selling myself is probably the one piece that I struggle with, and want to be on track for CSP within the next 2 years, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Hey.
Great. Cool. Jenish or Ross, are you with us? No, that's okay. I don't know what they've done. So I'm just turning their videos off. That'll just save a bit of bandwidth, and so everyone will be happy. All right, let's get on with it. So I suppose the key thing is now, Sue's put a couple of questions up there in terms of speaker bureau versus contacts/networks, industry direction, paid versus unpaid, focus on products for back of room, most predictive ways to source speaking gigs. So I'll make sure we'll talk about that. What else were people wanting to cover?
That's a big list.
Yeah. Let me go through for the sake of people who might be watching the recording, and just so everyone's crystal clear, what it is that you need to be a member. And just so everyone knows, if you go to the website, professionalspeakers.org.au, under, I think it's the About Us, or there's membership levels, and then there's member, and there's a whole pack that you can download. So the thing that you need essentially, and the key one that a lot of people have an issue with, is you need a stat dec, a signed witness statutory declaration verifying you have an income of $50,000 from speaking related activity. And I'll talk about that definition shortly. Signed authority to verify the income by your accountant, signed member's declaration. There is an application form you need to complete, as well as a payment of fee. For affiliates and provisional members, you don't need all of that. You need the signed copy agreeing to the PSA Code of Conduct, the signed authority to verify your income with your account, and the stat dec for the $50,000 from speaking related income. Now, there is also a definition in that pack of what speaking related income is, and I'll just quickly read that for you, just so you're crystal clear. Speaking related income includes the payment, any payment for a keynote or breakout presenting, training, or facilitation. It does not include consulting or one-on-one coaching, although group coaching may be included. Income generated as the result of a speaking event can also be included in the $50,000 membership criteria threshold, providing that the product or service is sold at a speaking event and paid for within 7 days of that event. For professionals who speak or train in a salaried role, qualification for membership can also be attained if the proportion of the employed role dedicated to speaking-related activity equates to more than $50,000 as a proportion of their salary. For example, if speaking or training is 70% of your role and you earn $90,000 a year, then the proportion of your income is $63,000. So therefore you qualify. So that's the definition, and that is all there in black and white if you want that. So you can check that out. Hey, Mandy, welcome to the call. Thank you for being here. Mandy, do you want to just give us a bit of a heads up and let us know, are you an affiliate, a provisional member, a member? Where are you at on the journey? And tell us a little bit about your business, just so we know what we're talking about.
Okay, on the journey, I am a provisional member now. So I did the first benchmark a while ago, and I do a lot more coaching. I'm a mind and performance coach, so I help people with peak personal performance.
Yep.
And most of my work is based on coaching. I do have some group coaching, which I'm aiming to increase, which will be covered.
Yep.
And I do run workshops generally up here on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I am.
All right. So let me, I had a couple of people come over and talk about what it takes to get to that next level. There's a few concepts I want to talk about, and then I'll come back to some of the questions that Sue's had. As I've said to the others, pop a few questions in the chat room just so I can see what's coming up and give me a bit of headspace to either weave it into the conversation or see what's going on. The key thing, and the key stumbling block for a lot of people, is that $50,000. And it is $50,000 within the last 12 months. So it's not like within the last 5 years, the $50,000. So the question then becomes looking at, okay, well, how do I make the 50 grand? I want the 50 grand. So part of that is beginning with the end in mind. I love that Stephen Covey statement. So it's looking at, okay, I need 50 grand. So what makes up that 50 grand? So if it is, well, I do group coaching. So I've got, 5 people in a session and they're all paying $1,000 each. So that's $5,000. So I need 10 of those sessions. So it's breaking it down to what it is. Maybe you know what your pricing is for your workshops that you run. Maybe you're charging, let's say, $2,500 for a workshop. So you now know, well, I've got to do 20 of those workshops to make my 50 grand. And so, it seems simplistic, but a lot of people sort of forget to do it. They're like, I'm working for the 50 grand, but they don't know what it's made up of. And it may well be it's made up of a combination of things. So you might have an online program, a book, some mentoring that you sell from stage, plus some workshops that you do. So the first step I would recommend for you is go through and break that down into what are the areas that you have sales targets for, so you know what you're aiming for. And I'm going to encourage you to think now as going for a CSP. Don't even worry about the membership. Go for CSP. So on our website, again, professionalspeakers.org.au, there is the requirements for a CSP. And part of that is there's a spreadsheet template that talks about what are the different income streams you've got. I would strongly encourage you to alter your current accounting software, be it MyOb, Xero, Intuit, whatever it is, to match those categories. What you're doing is making it easy now so that your standard processes captures all the information you want. So you don't have to go at the end of it all and get all this information and put it all in a spreadsheet. You're essentially going profit and loss statement, print, and it's all there. And that will then help you also as a member, because you're like, okay, well, this is from group coaching, this is from training, this is from facilitations, this is from workshops, this is from keynotes. And I do it for myself purely as a capturing what is the makeup of my business, what if it is product sales, what if it is online programs, what if it, so I know what are the growth areas of my my business. So you know, that's what's important to do it. Now, questions just come up from Jenish and where's that pack? What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the exact link and then let you know what it is. But yeah, that first step is to really break down that income so you know what you're looking for. So if you go to our website, professionalspeakers.org.au, and mine is slowly coming up now, what you'll find is there's a whole lot of different categories there. I'll just get rid of this. And on the About tab, there is membership levels. So if you click on About and then membership levels, it talks about joining the association as an affiliate or as a member. And then and it also has certified speaking professional. So it's got a link to the accreditation page, which has all that details. Under the member, it has a link where you can download it. So to make it easy for the people on the call, someone's already put it there. Fantastic. Thanks, Jenish. And Lisa and everybody's put it there. Fantastic. All right, good. So that's the first thing that I do. Jenish, we had you on video before, but you weren't around. So now, welcome back. Give me a bit of a rundown. Where are you on your speaking journey? And just so I want to make sure that you're covered. I'm about to hear from him. He's been unmuted. Go, Jenish. You can talk.
So basically,
there you are. A bit louder.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can now.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Oh, we've lost him. Not sure what's going on. All right, I'm going to have to keep going, Jenish, mate. Sorry, I can't. I've lost you. I can't sort of get you through. Just type in the box as to where you're at so I understand what's going on in your business to make sure that I'm hitting that. So the first step is looking at your finances in terms of where that's at. So the next step is obviously, okay, well, how do I sell these gigs? Where's the market? Where are the people? And this is understanding who is your target market? What is your ideal client? Where do they hang out? Now, our ex-Victorian President, Russell Pearson, talks about having an avatar or someone who represents their ideal client. And so you know that whether it's male or female, what sort of age group they are, what sort of needs or requirements they have, whereabouts do they hang out, what sort of products or services that they're looking for, so that you can make sure that you're hitting those requirements. That way you then know where you're going to hit. Now, when a lot of speakers come to PSA and people ask, well, what do you talk about? They go, oh, whatever the person wants. Well, who do you speak to? We speak to anyone. And so it's like it's a quickest way to financial ruin. So what you've got to do is understand what is your niche. Now, a couple of you said we talk about mindset, or you're a mindset coach, or you're talking about peak performance. Fantastic. Who are you doing it to? Is it to athletes? Is it to financial people? Is it to, what is that? So for me, my specialty is I'm an MC and an event host. That's what I do. I like to think it's what I do really well. I do love the sound of my own voice. It's not the only thing I sell, but it's what I market. And so it's what I go to market with, and I know that associations are really good for me, or for corporate sales kickoffs, because they're the kind of people who need professional hosts. So that's who I'm targeting. I also have a strong association with the Professional Conference Organisers Association, because again, they're who book me. So I and it took me a while to find this out. Please don't think that, I've walked in and gone, oh, this is what you do, and you're away. It's taken me 19 years to be an overnight success. So, it's not a simple process. But don't let that discourage you. I'm not saying it's going to take 19 years for you to get anywhere either, So it is about understanding who is your target market, what do they want, and how can you best position that with them. The question at the very beginning, what about speakers bureaus versus your own direct stuff? Typically, speakers bureaus don't really want you until you don't need them. So once you've done a whole lot of work marketing yourself, you've built your brand in the marketplace, and people go, oh, Warwick Merry, that's that guy who, that's when a bureau will want you, because for them, they're really into how can we sell to our clients. Don't get me wrong, bureaus are fantastic and they serve a great role in the marketplace. But if you're a relatively unknown, you have nothing special that stands out about you, you don't have no super ability, they're not going to be interested because it's too hard to sell. They want easy to sell. So if you're a TV celebrity, a sports celebrity, a touring international Barack Obama kind of person, you're an easy sell. And so it's just up to them to then position you. So speakers bureaus can be good, but they also get completely overwhelmed. There's a lot of speakers training schools in the marketplace, and one of the things some of them will say is, send lots of letters off to the speaking bureaus. There's some of the bureau owners that I've spoken to who have said, we don't take anyone else. Like we're full up to pussy's boat. So it would behoove you at this stage to look at building your own network and focus on who do you already know. Lisa was saying that she's been working within a government department. So you might already know people within that department or people who they know who have events who may be able to book you. So it is all about making sure that, who is it that's out there that might book you that's within your network. And it could be a family friend. It could be maybe you're part of BNI or Rotary or other groups that you might be part of. And it is spreading the message on this is the kind of thing that I do. And one of the other questions that was asked by Sue is about paid versus unpaid gigs. I don't recommend doing any unpaid gigs. I recommend doing a value exchange gig. There is a difference because an unpaid gig, there's no value in it. But a value exchange gig may well be that I don't get money, but I get something of value. I might get a testimonial. I might get 2 referrals. I might get the opportunity to practice a presentation that's not quite right yet. But if I go to Rotary, it's a pretty low risk. If I cock it up completely, they're not going to care, and I get a free meal out of it, and everyone's happy. Or if it goes really well, I've just got another exposure to it. So it's about looking at where are some of the value exchange. So I might not get paid to speak, but I get the opportunity to sell something at the back of a room. Which is a good thing to do. The other question someone's asked here is, again, Sue, is the focus on products for the back of room. I'm a product fiend. I think product is so important and it's so easy to do. Books take a lot of work, I'm going to tell you. And I've written one and had part writing in another, and there's a lot of pain. One of the easiest things to generate is an MP3 or a CD of your recording. It's just as simple as if you're going to speak somewhere and they have a microphone that you'll be using, go to whoever's doing the AV and say, can I just put my digital recorder and plug it in and record straight to my digital recorder? You may even have a lapel mic that plugs into your phone. And I know Rode, R-O-D-E, have a quite affordable lapel mic that plugs into your phone. You can record it straight to your phone. Little tip, put your phone on airline mode before you do the recording because you don't want a phone call halfway through that cocks up your recording. But you can record that and then get one of your PSA buddies to do, you're about to listen to Sue Lester. She's a legend and a champion. Let's join her now and find out what's going on. And then at the end go, you've just been listening to Sue Lester. For more information about her services, contact 1-800-SUE. That's right, 1-800-SUE. Call now. You've got the contacts, do that, and all of a sudden, bang, there's a product. A CD is worth $30. And so therefore... And the cost to you to generate a CD, there's places that are $2, $3, and you can churn them out. Get a Fiverr can do a really nice cover for you, and all of a sudden, bang, there's a product. Back of room, you can say, hey, today, if you want to go home, I've got these CDs. They're worth $30 today, only $20, and away we go. You can pay by PayPal. I've got a little dongle thing that links up to my PayPal account that you can just wave, tap and go, whatever it is, automatically sends them an invoice once you've got their email address. It's brilliant. They're the kind of thing, all you got to do is, they're a $20 CD. All you got to do is sell, I don't know, 10 of those. There's $200. So it can be quite easy when you're speaking at networking events to slowly but surely build that. I have about 35 different CD, DVD products that I sell. I've got online e-courses that I sell for a couple of $100. And online e-courses don't have to be anything too complex. They can be simply a MailChimp autoresponder. So you can shoot a video, do an audio, write something that's broken down into 5 weeks or 6 weeks and say, you know, I've got a 6-week e-course on how to ... And ta-da, there's your e-course worth $395, but today only $195. I'll also throw in my CD, usually worth $30, yours for free. Come and see me at the back of the room. So it's quite easy to do that, and then put them into MailChimp, and then once a week for the next 6 weeks, whatever the course is, bang, out it goes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Any questions around products or any thoughts on products? No? Okay, good. That was easy. What I will say about books, I know I did a program for PSA in Victoria about how to create products. So I don't know if it was recorded. I'll have a look around and see if we've got it. But for products, what I would suggest for a book, you've got to understand what is the purpose of the book. I would humbly suggest to you, you are not going to get wealthy selling books. But I will say that nothing gives credibility like a book. There is something about saying, I've written the book on. Like my book is Get More Inspiration. So I can say I've written the book on inspiration. And I market mine a little bit differently because it's not just a flowing book. And I will say to people, this book has been specifically designed not to be read because it's a flicker. You flick, you read a couple of pages, done, get back to work. But that's how I choose to position it. But the book is a real positioning statement for you. It's essentially a business card. So you need to look at what is the purpose of the book. You can sell them back of room, and I have sold many back of room, but I've probably given away as many as I've sold. And again, it is a credibility piece. Be aware that some self-published books look like a self-published book. It's worth spending a little bit extra and modeling your book on what does a quote real book look like. And to me, if you go into a bookshop and you go to the business section, the majority of those books, simple things, they have a glossy, colorful cover. They don't have a picture of the author on the cover. They have off-white paper. They have a serif font versus a sans serif font. So there's a whole lot of little things that you can do to help position your book so it looks like a real book or a book that looks of value. It's all about, most people that you give a book to, let's be honest, they're not going to read it. They're just not. And that's okay, and I'm okay with that. I just want them to look at the book and see my name on a regular basis. So when it's time for, when they're thinking of, who am I going to book for this event or gig or something, they think of me. So so that's probably enough about products for now. Other question, most productive way to source speaking gigs? Yeah, productive way to source speaking gigs. The best way is through your network. So creating a funnel, so giving away something of value to get people, because people don't sign up for newsletters anymore. They don't want your newsletter. They're not interested in your newsletter, but they want something of value. So if you give them a special report or and even an ebook, it's got to be something that's worthwhile, and you'll know from the people that you speak to as to what that's going to be. So have a look at what is it of value that you can give away to get people who are interested, and it can't be something of value that's not related to you. It's got to be related to you, because that way you can, for example, if you're doing LinkedIn, and I know the lovely Jo has joined us and she's a LinkedIn guru. So if you're saying, that if you've got an ebook or a special report that profiles the top 10 ways to make your LinkedIn profile get more business. That's going to be something that supports you, because people will be like, oh, I want that. I'm interested in that. Versus saying, here's an ebook on how to get energized first thing in the morning, but you're a LinkedIn specialist. You know, you're getting people who want the energized. They're not really interested in buying anything further from you. So if that makes sense, it's all about staying, what's my topic and what's my niche and who's my avatar, as we said before, of what's my client, and making sure that we're marketing towards that. And then I've got to tell you, the phone is a fantastic thing. I get far better responses from my phone when I make phone calls than I do from any other source. I love it when the phone rings and it's like, hi, Warwick, we'd like to book you on an all expenses. Here's a large sum of money. You're going first class around the world. That doesn't happen very often at all. But what does happen is when I have a database and I work through my database and I call people on a regular basis. Keith Abraham, CSP, who hosted the Platform Professional, or hosted a session at the Platform Professionals, talked about how he's in contact with 7 people a day. And I took that on board and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do 5 a day. And so I had been doing, up until I broke my ankle, I'd been doing 5 a day religiously. And they're not 5 randoms. They're 5 people who are on my database, or 5 people who I'd researched who I knew were my target market.
But can I chime in there, Warwick?
You can, Sally.
Keith also, when he does his 7, most of them are phone calls, but sometimes they're a text, sometimes they're a card, sometimes they're an email. But the email is the last and the least that he does.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
and sometimes there is something as simple as, "Hey, I was thinking of you today. How's it going?" Like really simple. It's not a, "Hey, give us your business. We'd love your business. We want more business." You know, it was just, I was thinking of you. But that's because it's not a cold contact. It's someone who has either used him before or who knows of him. Yeah. But it is about contacting. He said 7, and I thought, I'm going to be pushing it. I'm going to do 5. So, and I'm agree with Keith and with others. Email's it's just not okay. I don't know about you, but I get so much spam, and if anything looks like anything like, I'm deleting it. And as Joe will point out, you know, someone friends you up on LinkedIn, and the very first thing they do is send you a, "Hey, I notice you do this and I do this and I'd love to do this for you, and tell me." I'm like, "You're gone." And like, you know, it's just, I'm not interested, and it's too easy. And it could be something that's fabulous, but it's too easy to hit the delete button on an email. Whereas a phone call or a text is going to get opened because people always read the text. But I wouldn't be sending a text to a random. I'd be sending a text to someone. But it is about reaching out and contacting people and genuinely looking at how can you add value to them and find out what's going on for them and what's happening in their business, versus screaming down the phone, "Buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff," because that just doesn't work. All right. Lisa, you've asked me a question about road shows. You and I can talk about that later on. I think is going to probably be the best thing there. Sue said that the Bonjoro is a great free app for personal video messages to an email address. But again, if someone send me a video message, if I don't know you or if I'm not a customer already, I'm going to hit delete. I'm really not interested. And for me personally, it's just me. I'm not a video watcher. I'm a reader, because I can zip through a reader. And if I don't have an option to change the speed on the video to be 1.5 to 2 times, I'm not going to watch it. Because I always watch any video I'm watching is at speed 1.5 to twice the speed. I don't have time, and I can listen quicker than watch. So, there's a lot of apps and technology, and people love their stuff for marketing, and you can do da. Business is done with people. People do business with people. It's about the relationship. It's always about the relationship. One of the best things I did for one of my clients was strongly recommend that they not use me. And the reason I did that was because I wanted them to use me in the long term. I was thinking a long-term relationship with them. So they'd use me for one event, which was a fantastic event, and everyone was happy. And the subsequent event was being held in America. And I said to them, "Don't use me. There's these 3 people in the States who are far better value for money for you because you're over there. You don't have to fly me over there and all that sort of stuff. Use them, and then I'll be ready for your next event, which will be at some other location. And they actually said, we were actually thinking that anyway. And the fact that you've said that has really supported us. So part of what I do with my clients is I'm always looking at long term. So I'm not looking at what's a $2,000 gig or a $3,000 training or whatever it is. I'm looking at how can I be your partner in this area so I can only have to sell it once but use it multiple times. In the same way, I've got a couple of mentoring clients, and one of them, he's been with me 3 years, and like, you know, it's never a question of do you want to sign up for the following year. He's just like, until I say stop, we're just going to keep going. And for me, it's just great. I don't have to sell more stuff, and I continue to add value. So, all right, I've spoken for a heck of a lot here. So I want to throw it back to people on the line. What are some of the questions or issues? And Joe, you were at the little powwow we had the other day. So I don't know if you've got any questions or anything from that. But what questions or issues do you have in terms of the journey to get you to become a member? And Joe, if you're talking, don't forget you're muted. Oh, she's ducked off for a cup of coffee.
No, sorry about that. I had just got booted out and back in. I missed the question.
The question is, do you have any questions? And because you were at the session the other day, the little powwow, is there anything coming out of that you want to know a bit more about? Or is there anything from that you think everyone should know about?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to get my notes. I think what I got from the session, and I really appreciate your time, so thanks for having me over, Warwick.
That's right.
I think it was just having a plan, and that's what I haven't got. I haven't really planned anything out. So actually sitting down and mapping it out and chunking it down. Yeah. Getting really clear.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to understand, like, okay, this means I've got to do 2 paying speaking gigs a month, or 3 events a month, or 4 events a month. And it may well be, okay, so to do that, it's not going to happen the first 2 months. So that means that I've got to start now. I don't know about you, but I don't market and get a gig for that month. It usually happens 3, 4, 5 months, even 12 months down the track. Some of my clients have had a 3-year sales cycle. So it's about what can I start now to get that kind of gig, and being strategic about it. There's a lot of affiliates or provisional members who are thinking, oh, I really want to be a member, and they're not doing anything different. So it's about, okay, well, what are you going to do? How do you get in front of people? And is there, you might not have product to sell. Great. Have you got someone who's got something in your area that you can wholesale from them and then sell? You might buy it from them for $8 and sell it for 20, so that you can at least make some money and it's relevant, and it supports your industry, so to speak. So
I'll back that up, because in the back of the room for me, I have your book, Warwick, and I have someone else's book and my own products. And so, I bought a bunch from you and we have an agreement on a price. And so all that adds up at the end of the day. Yeah.
And sometimes you can do a bundle, because some people go, I just want your book for $20. Great. But then there's the productivity pack, call it what you will, that's $100. Yeah. So you've got a different price point. Some people have got different money to spend, because for some, it's not their money, it's their company's money, and they're happy to spend it. And for others, their own money.
Yeah, and if the company's paid for them to be there, they might be more flush to spend a bit of their own pocket money, yeah.
So the other question you might want to ask yourself is, what are your barriers? What's stopping you from going to the next level? And before you get into it's fear of success and it's fear of this, that, and the other, I don't care. It's like, I don't care about that stuff. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just like, great, you've got it, do something about it. There's plenty of mindset gurus and stuff out there who can help you. And we've got 2 on the call. What I'm saying is, do something. So what is it that you're not doing you need to do? And I know for me, when Keith talked about making 7 calls a day, I'm like, that's what I need to do. I could do some calls, but I'm not doing a consistent number a day. And I stopped doing it when I broke my foot, and I've just had my cast off on Friday, and I've had stuff I've been doing this week. So effectively Monday, I'm now committing back to doing 5 calls a day, or 5 contacts a day, the majority of which are phone calls. Because it's just like, the phone calls I make today may lead to business in 2 years' time. So it is about, how do I get that out there? So the question is, how would a typical call go? That's a very good thing. So for me, I have a style. As you can tell, it's quite relaxed. As you can tell, my business assistant here is also quite relaxed. And so therefore my phone calls are relaxed. So many of my business emails they end with my initials and a kiss, or it's, hey, lovely, how you going? I want to talk about da. So it's about understanding what's your style. So for me, frequently I'll be calling someone, and I've got to tell you, I'll be using the I broke my leg. And I'll be calling someone and say, hey, hi, we haven't spoken for ages. You might not have heard, I broke my leg, had an amazing motorbike accident. Love to talk to you, tell you all about it, and find out what's been happening in your life and how I might be able to help you with any events you got coming up. Because what that's doing is people are going, you broke your leg, how'd you do that? And I can embarrassingly say it was from a motorbike accident where I was going 10 kilometers an hour and was rather foolish. But, it is about how do you make it a bit extra? It's not like, I wanted to, sell you stuff, because they won't call back. Because nowadays people are too busy and they won't call back unless there's something they won't call back. So unless you've sorry?
I was going to say, you know your style, but you also know who the client is. If they're on your list, there's got to be some level of above cold temperature, and I'll give an example where I had a fairly coldish kind of client where they attended one of my programs, and I knew that they were more than a guinea pig in the room. I was testing something out, and I took forever to fess up and ring them, and it was probably about 18 months, and I rang them back and said, look, I'm gonna be totally upfront with you. The program you came on, that was really testing the waters. Can I just tell you, I've revamped it, and this is what's in there now. And I'd love to come in and have a chat with some of your team about whether they think it's worthwhile or not, and we'll go from there. And I've actually been booked to go and do it now, because I had that relationship, and I kind of had to suck it up and take a big deep breath and go, you know what? It wasn't that good, and I'm really sorry. But I'm here saying I've improved on it.
Yep.
And there was a risk. They could have just went, yeah, you totally stuffed it, Sally. But I think because I kind of knew who they were, I felt at some level I could be really upfront with them and say, this is what the situation was. What do you reckon?
Yeah. And look, I'm going to be completely honest here. There are people who are far better at sales than I within PSA. So find someone in your chapter who's a sales guru and provide them something of value and and ask them for a few tips. But let me just role play a couple of things. So for a cold call, and I've done cold calls before, I'll try and make it a warm call. So if I know someone who knows them, I might talk to the other person first and say, hi, it's Warwick here. I was speaking with Lisa, and she said that you run different events. I just wanted to give you a quick call. I've written a white paper on the top 10 things you need to know for your event from having the perfect event. I'd love to send you a copy as a gift. Would you be interested? Oh, yes, love that. Great. What's your email address? Let me send it to you, and I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks to see if you got any questions about it. And so it becomes that I'm giving you – nowadays, selling doesn't work like it used to. I don't know about you, but I watch ads on TV and I think, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to manipulate me. And most of the time, I'm on mute anyway. Or I'll see a poster of something and go, it's got no impact on me. I'm not buying that rubbish. So, but what I succumb to is if there's something that I'm interested in and they're like, hey, here's a free thing or here's something you wanted to know. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I want to know that. So I'll find out a bit of information about it. And then they're like, they'll give me a bit more. And then like, call me if you want to know more. And so it becomes this, Paul McCarthy talks about CSP talks about a 7-step process. And so there's like almost 7 times that you've got to get to them before, they might bite on the first time, but someone's going to take 7 or 8 to get to you. So there's going to be the ebook, there's going to be the phone call, there's going to be the follow-up phone call. There might be an article that you saw that that they're interested in or that's in their industry that you email them a link to or send them a physical copy. There may well be, you might see that they're at a trade show and you walk past and say, hello, I've been calling you, la, 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 la. So it's about how do you start a relationship? It's that know you, like you, trust you. So you don't want to be a stranger. You want to be someone who they know. I've seen you around. I like your stuff. I put out a newsletter every week. Mine's small, easy to read in the preview pane. And I get a lot of people saying, oh, I've unsubscribed from a lot, but not yours. I like yours. And the reason they like mine is I'm not flogging them stuff. Every now and again, I might say, hey, I've got an event coming up, but most of the time it's a quirky observation on live. My dog gets highlighted a lot. The fact that I broke my leg has been highlighted a lot of late. I typically will take my own photos and then put some quirky comment about it. But what it does is every Monday, except when I forget and it's a Tuesday, I'm in their inbox and they'll have a bit of a look and then I'll hit delete. And I don't want to clog their inbox up. And I sell it on the whole concept of don't want to clog your inbox. It's just a quirky observation. Now, that works for me because that's my style. For other people, they're like, I'm more into the detail. And when I write an article, I go deep. So for them, it's like once every 2 months. I'm trying to think. I can see his red beard, Dr. Gentleman Pirate. Oh, I lost his name.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Jason Fox, Dr. Jason Fox. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Dr. Jason Fox. He does his, I think they're called ramblings or something, once a quarter that they go out. And he goes quite deep on them. And, you know, he's quite personal and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's his brand, like Gentleman Pirate. I did a video interview with him last year, and his whole brand is Gentleman Pirate. And that's how he write. Like, his emails are, ahoy there. Business partner happens to be his graphic designer, and they do some amazing graphics. So it's all about, again, being on brand. What is your brand? Who is your target market? What do they respond to? That kind of stuff. And making sure that how you communicate with them is what they want, not necessarily what you want. There's too many people I know whose newsletters scream, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, or they're a whole long ramble waffle that goes nowhere. It's short and sweet because people are not going to read it. There are too many emails, but it is about looking at how you can stay in touch to stay top of mind. Vin Yang, and if you haven't seen it, the video is on the Facebook page, talked about one of the things he does is he creates these amazing gifts that he gives to some of his top clients, because he's a magician, and so it's a magic trick where he sticks a card in a bottle or something. And he wanted to come up with something that they would put on their desk because it's so unique, so that every time they look at it, they're thinking of him. So again, it's about how do I stay top of mind, or how do I connect with this individual? So that's a very long way to answer. You know, when it comes to a cold call, that's one way to do it. For a warm call or someone on my database, it's a really, hey, thinking of you, what's going on? I know you did this event last year. What have you got coming up? How can I help? And sometimes they're like, oh, we're trying to look for a speaker. Well, I'm a member of Professional Speakers Australia. I've got a really good network. What kind of speaker are you after? And they might say, oh, we really need someone who talks about, mindset. Oh, mate, there's 2 people I know based in Perth who do really good stuff around mindset, and it's these guys. Have a comment. Do you want me to do an introduction? Oh, that'd be brilliant. And I've heard many speakers have it's sort of an informal referral process, which is, and this is a tip that I got from I went to the States to an SA event for their CSP 2-day retreat, and they talked about there's one particular guy who they have a trio. There's 3 of them, and at the end of every event, he goes up to the professional conference organizer and says, how was that? And typically they say, that was fabulous. He goes, great. And I know 3 things are now going to happen. I know, number 1, you're probably going to be having this event again next year. I know, number 2, you're not going to be using me because you've just used me and you thought I was good. And I know, number 3, you're going to be looking for someone else. And they're like, yeah. Well, I've got these 2 people who I would highly recommend. They're just like me, but different. Oh, that's brilliant. And so between the 3 of them, every time they do a gig, they essentially are giving away 2 referrals. And so they got people in their network who are just like them but different, if that makes sense. So they'll have a similar style, a similar energy, but slightly different. Now, I know as an event host, I've got 2 or 3 people who have referred quite a lot of work to me, and when the opportunity comes up, I will refer that work back, and that works really well. And I know for me within PSA, I can track through my accounting system well over $100,000 of work that has come from referral for other members. So when people say to me, why should I be a member of PSA? My answer is always for financial reasons. It will put money in your pocket. Part of that is because I don't have a formal relationship with some of the people who refer me. It's not you refer me and I give you 30%. It's just, I can't service my clients, but I want my clients looked after. You're same, but different. I'm going to put you forward. And so that's what's happened. Which then leads to another way of getting business, and that is having a referral network in terms of how will you get and give referrals. So I know a lot of people talk about how givers gain. So part of it is looking for opportunities where if you don't fit it, that you're handing it on to someone else. And if you're not handing on opportunities to other PSA members, I would question why you're not, because these are your tribe, and typically you'll know a couple of people who are very good at what they do. So why wouldn't you be referring them? So I'd be looking at some kind of referral network so that if you do get a speaking gig and people really love you, they're not going to want you next year. So just say, look, I've got a couple of suggestions for you. Would you like me to email them through to you? Because it's painful. Trying to find speakers is painful. Having just run convention, it's hard. There's a lot of people who want to do it and a lot of people who are really good, but there's so many factors of an event that you've got to put together: the right energy, the right flow, who matches the theme, trying to make sure you've got a diversity balance, trying to make sure that everyone's needs are met. It's challenging. So any help you can give them reflects really well back onto you. What other questions have people got? I know I've, again, been talking because I love the sound of my voice.
I've just got one.
Yeah.
So quite a few of my workshops have been a really good lead for enrolling coaching clients.
Yes.
But most of them pay me on a monthly basis.
Yep.
So am I right in presuming that will not be allowable?
The current definition says that they have to pay and sign up within 7 days. Right. So if part of what you're doing is you've got an open program and you say you'd like coaching, if you take a deposit on the day, there is no reason why that does not count. And if that, and then that becomes part of your ongoing. So for the last 12 months, that person who has been your client has come about because of that event. So there's no reason why the whole 12 months of revenue cannot be considered income. That does not count. I'll have to check. CSP rules are a little bit different, but for member, that most likely should count.
Okay, that was about half it got about halfway, more than halfway.
So can I confirm that it's not just the deposit that's paid within the day or 7 days, it's the actual, so you get the deposit, but the whole subscription.
Okay, so I'm going to look at the definition here. The product or service is sold at a speaking event and paid for within 7 days of that event. Now, here's the thing, Sally. If they are on a month-by-month program with you and they pay the first amount within the 7 days and then are with you for, say, 12 months, or there's a payment plan breakdown, they got 3 payments over a 6-month period, or blah, 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 blah. If the initial payment is made, I can't think of a reason why it can't be considered. Now, I'm not giving a 100% guarantee here because we'll have to talk to the accreditation manager about it for a firm definition. But at the end of the day, if you can justify your revenue that comes from a speaking source, have that conversation. We're not trying to stop people from becoming members. We're trying to encourage people to be members. And the challenge is every business model is different. Like the business has changed so much from when I first joined in 1999, when back then there was a lot of people who just did keynotes. That's all they did. Whereas now you can generate money from stage so many different ways. And we're trying to do what's fair because we are the Professional Speakers Association, not the professional coaches or mentoring or trainers, speakers. But we need to make sure that the money you're generating has come from speaking. And in that instance where they've bought a 12-month program and paid for the first amount within the 7 days, it would be fair, in my personal opinion, it would be fair to say that that should be considered as a speaking-generated income.
Thank you.
Well, it's a speaking-generated decision, isn't it? So.
It is. It's because of the speaking that they spent the money. So... And it may well be just purely, if you could have sold the program all up front, but, you have a payment program or monthly or whatever it is,
Thank you.
Tony, welcome along. Thanks for joining us. We've been having a bit of a chat, and you can catch up on the recording for the original bit. Do you have any questions from your point of view on how to become a member or how to take it to the next level?
No, I'm already a member. I'm just learning a bit more.
Excellent. Cunning plan. Janish has asked, do webinars count as speaking? And the answer is, yeah. If you've got more than one person on the webinar, you're speaking to an audience, a crowd, and if you're getting paid for that, if they're paying to be there, that's going to count as speaking. It's part of the speaking generated income. The best thing to always do is go to the definition that's on the website as to what is speakers generated income, and it talks about having multiple people in your audience, and a digital audience does count.
As long as your face and video can be seen, or just the slides? Because that was
doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as it's not pre-recorded, as long as it's not, just hit play and away you go.
Right.
But essentially, it's for you. It's really. If you're doing a webinar, you're going to show your face. You're going to show some slides. And nowadays, with webinars or online learnings, there's so many different ways to do it. But if you're just selling an online product, that won't count unless you've sold it as part of a speaking performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yes, Janish, that is the definition that I'm thinking of.
Thank you, Janish.
Cool. And look, it's a long journey, and it's not the kind of thing that you're going to get to overnight, and which is why we realised we hadn't left enough time and hadn't really given enough support, which is why we're now starting to do some different online learnings. We've got some learnings coming up with different topics within the 8 core competencies about running your business. The key element to get to member and then to get to CSP is always the financial, because in terms of us, how do we measure professional? Money is one way of doing it, and it's the way we've chosen. Now, for CSP, you also have to provide videos and have other CSPs have a look at your work and make sure that they're satisfied that you have the eloquence and expertise and ethics of a speaker to be considered a CSP. And again, as I said earlier, your road to member would be considered to cover the same. Your platform presentation skills is so important. And the way you run your business is also important, because not only are you representing your brand, you'll start to represent the Professional Speakers Australia brand, which is, we're very protective of. So look, unless anyone has any other questions, I reckon we've probably covered quite a bit for this evening. And as I said, there's going to be the recording. I'll post this recording and I'll stick it in the Facebook group for everyone as well. So unless anyone has any questions, or is there anything else that they want to know, I'm around. If you have, in 3 minutes time, once we hang up, you think, oh, got a question, shoot me an email, warwick@warwickmerry.com, put it on the Facebooky page. I'm there, every couple of days or so, and I'm happy to answer that. Has this been worthwhile?
Yeah, thank you.
Good. I'll take that as a yes. That's great. So it's, my mission is I want to get as many of our provisional and affiliates to member as soon as possible. So don't wait until the end of next year. If you qualify, do it, and set up your business processes to support that. So you can just go print. Here's my money and here's my other stuff, and we're away.
Yeah,
that's a great tip.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, ladies.
And I want to reiterate that we've all got to learn to ask a bit more and be okay about asking in the Facebook group and in our own chapters, because like you said, Warwick, you said this ages ago, and someone else has said it to me as well, is that it's not that PSA doesn't want us over the line. We've got to get over the line ethically and correctly, but ask. There's never a dumb question. Yeah,
there you go. So yeah, we're here to help you. The board and all the chapter teams are here to help you get there. So we'll do whatever we can. And that will, if you're looking at running open programs or anything like that, ask questions on how to do. We've got people who do it really well. I personally suck at doing open programs. I'm not very good. I can't get people to turn up. But we've got people who do them all the time. I was speaking to a CSP today, Tasha Bloomfield, and she does amazing open programs and makes some really good money from them. So ask, and people are more than happy to share their experiences. So at the very least, what's a really easy thing to do is to run a webinar that might go for 20 minutes. You can use zoom.us for free for up to 20 minutes. Run a webinar for 20 minutes or 15 minutes that's got a bit of a high-level profile to then try and sell into a 1 hour session for $30 a session, and all you need then is to get 20 people along, and then $600. So, give it a crack. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for your time. I really appreciate it. And again, if I have any further questions, get in touch. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, Warwick. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.